Now, because this document is secured now, I'm going to close it and I'm going to reopen the file from the lesson folder that I've given you to work with so that we can take the next step with password-driven policies. So in the Lesson 13 folder, you'll find a file called budget.pdf, and I'll open this file and we'll reconsider its security. And I'll expand the window so we have more room to work with. This time, I'm going to create a different type of password-driven security policy, so I'll select Manage Security Policies. I'll click New. I do want to use passwords. Click Next. We'll label it Password-Driven, no changes. And I'm going to give it a description, and this will help you understand what we're doing. No edits allowed. I do want to save the passwords with the policy again. We'll select Next. And this time, instead of requiring a password to open the document, I don't care who opens it. It's what they can do with the document once they've opened it that concerns me. I don't want them to go in and make the change that I showed you when we started this topic. So, we'll select Use Permissions Password to restrict the editing of security settings. That's kind of a long way of saying, if you want to change what someone can do with the document, you had better know this password. So I'll type the password in, and I do not want you to print the document. I do not want you to make changes to the document. Now, I can set it so that a person could print the document with low resolution or high resolution. The high resolution just allows you to print it as if it were normal. Low resolution is a good option if you want to protect a document to make it more difficult for someone to either run OCR technology on the file or to use it in a graphics workflow. They can print it out so that they can have a meeting and discuss it on paper, but they're really not going to be able to use the document as if they created it themselves. But I'm going to set none. I don't want any printing. Changes also offer some options because I can allow inserting, deleting, and rotating pages. I can allow filling in form fields and signing existing signature fields. I can comment, fill in form fields, and sign the existing signature fields, and make any change except for extracting pages. They're basically just different levels of things that I'm allowed to do to the document. I'm going to sew this document up so that all you can do is open the thing and read it. That's all I want you to be able to do. Furthermore, I don't want you to be able to copy the content of the document out and then attempt to recreate a document that looks very similar to it. So I'm going to disallow enable copying of text, images, and other contents. Now, if you're familiar with Section 508, which is a part of the ADA, the Americans with Disabilities Act, then you know a document is something that if you're going to use it, especially in a publicly traded company, needs to be accessible to people who maybe can't see. Enabling text access for screen reading devices allows for that. However, the reason that Adobe gives you the ability to turn that off is not because Adobe wants you to violate the Section 508 compliance laws, but it's because there are ways that people can use this technology as a way to sneak into a document and copy information out of that document. So it's a trade-off. Do you want the document to be as secure as possible but non-accessible, or does it need to be accessible according to Section 508 regulations? If you need to know more about this Section 508, I would encourage you to go to the www.section508.gov website, and Adobe shows you how to get there right from this dialog box because it's a very, very important part of the law, and you should be considering it if you're producing documents for use by the general public. Once I've built the policy, then I'll go ahead and select Next. I'll need to go ahead and type my password again. As the owner of this document, it might be important for me to realize, for example, that I've made a mistake. You'll notice that I left Enable Text Access for Screen Readers off. Well, I'm just going to hit Cancel quickly, come back and turn this on. But if I had applied this policy to a document, I might need to get back into the document to change these permissions so that it becomes a compliant file. If I don't have this permissions password, or if I've mistyped it here and I didn't realize that, then I would have some significant trouble on my hands because I would at very least have to recreate the document. Now I'll click Next, and that's what Acrobat is trying to prevent me from doing right now. I'm going to retype the password just to make sure that I got it right. I did. We'll say OK. However, this dialog box appears, and it's something that can make you a little bit nervous when you're working with these security issues. The reason I talked about compatibility and the fact that the lower the compatibility, in other words, the newer the version of Acrobat you need to use, is because the higher the encryption, the very much less likely it is that someone is going to be able to get by these restrictions you've placed on the document. However, the higher the encryption, the much, much less likely that that is to happen. This is just Adobe letting you know that There's no such thing as perfect digital security in this world. However, I got to tell you, it's very, very good, and it's incredibly unlikely that someone is going to be able to do something to this document that you don't want them to. Plus, at the end of this lesson, we're going to talk about document certification, which will help you even further. So we'll click OK. We'll click Finish, and I've created 2 new policies. I'm not going to apply the policy to the document this time. Instead, I'm going to select Closed. And the reason that Adobe gives you the ability to create policies as opposed to simply applying security to the document directly is because then the policies appear under your Secure menu. And you can keep applying them over and over and over again to different documents without having to remember how you set them up. So I'll go ahead and apply the password-driven no changes policy. Yes, I definitely want to apply the security to this document. Because I really don't need to see this message each time, I'll dispense with it. Yes, I know that the security settings will not be applied to the document until I save it. We'll select that and select OK. And remember, Adobe's doing that because I, as the author of the document, I should be able to go ahead and tweak the document until I'm finished with it. Once I'm done with that process and I save the document, that's when the security settings become applied. So again, I'll do a Save As. And I'll save this to the desktop, and we'll call this one Budget 2. Once I've done that, you might notice some things have changed. For example, the print button has disappeared. Where did it go? I disallowed printing for this document. If I go to the Tools Advanced Editing toolset, many of the tools there are grayed out. And those that aren't grayed out, frankly, if I attempt to use them, they're not going to work. However, this is not the measure by which I should be determining what security has been applied to this document. Instead, I'm going to come over to the security panel, which is now visible because there is security applied to this document. By the way, I'll also point out that the name of the document, when it's open in Acrobat, will contain the word secured in parentheses. That's another way to know that some security has been applied, but the way to know what security has been applied is to come back to this Secure pane. So I'll select it, it will open, and it tells me that I can't edit this document. I need to know exactly what has been applied for security, so I'll click Permission Details. When I click that, I'll get the Document Properties dialog box, which, by the way, let me hit Cancel and show you that this information is available via File, Properties, Security. Just 2 different ways to get to the same dialog box. And here we have it. These are the security settings that have been applied to this document. Now, it tells me what the security method was, and if I like, I can, as the owner of this document, come back and select No Security. Yes, I'm sure, and I've disabled the security. Because I'm the owner of the document, that's something that I can do, and only I can do. Select OK, and I'm good to go.